Hi, this is Millie. She's a Lhasa Apso, and as you can see, she's in full coat. Now, this is a very, very difficult coat to keep up. The Laracas actually have two of these, and she has the easier coat of the two, but I just want to show you, if you can get, if the people do want to pay to have their dogs look like this, and there's so many people that come into the shops or come to a mobile groomer and say, I want my dog to look like this, I want my dog to look like the picture in the magazine, but if they don't want to invest the time and the money into keeping their dogs up, then you'll never be able to keep a coat up like this. So, and I know, even though I groom these two dogs once a week, and I know the Laracas, they're pretty diligent about brushing the dogs in between, but if you do have a client like this that wants to keep them in coat, make sure you educate the people and how to take care of the coat, how to brush the coat. For instance, you never want to brush a dry coat, so you may want to sell them a detangling spray or an anti-stat spray, so if they are brushing them in between, they don't do any more harm than good. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with the client. And for instance, you may get a lady or a client that wants the dog to be in full coat like this, but they may not want to maintain it in between the appointments in order to be able to keep the dog in this type of shape. And if the client doesn't brush it, then you're not going to be able to go 4 weeks with a coat like this. So I try to make sure when I'm grooming these dogs, I really use a lot of conditioner with them. And even though I'm grooming them once a week, they still tend to get some mats in them, and they still tend to get tangled up a little bit because they do play and they do roughhouse, and I'm sure they sleep in the bed, and there's a lot of static in Memphis, so you get a lot of that static in the coat. And not only just from being in the house, but when they're running around, their coat tends to build up a lot of static in it, just being out and just being in their environment. So I've got the nails trimmed, I've got the pads done, I did my prep work right around the rectum, and you can see this is going to be, even though she was groomed a week ago, you can see she kind of looks a mess. She looks like she needs a good brushing. I'm plucking the ears right now. I'm just she doesn't need it much because I do her so often, so I just get what I can right around the ear canal with my hands. And like I said with the Bichon earlier, I'm leaving a little bit of hair in that area to serve as a filter, so it protects her from the debris and the dirt and that sort of thing when she's out running around. And just like we did with Kobe, I'm putting a little ear flush in there just to make sure there's no bad bacteria that's built up in there, or no bad wax. And one thing I noticed when I was grooming Millie today is she's got a little bit of an ear infection going on in her right ear. So if you do spot something like that, make sure you tell the customer, because a lot of times when we clean these ears out, if you don't let the customer know and you clean it out, when that dog goes back in and they start rubbing their head or they start scratching their ear, then all of a sudden they have an ear infection, because what we've done is kind of irritated the situation. So you want to make sure you let your customers know ahead of time, before they do have to take it to the vet for something like that. Now what I'm doing now is I'm filling up my tub with water. I'm going to be using the Bathing Beauty. This is a Hanvey engineering product, and it's a recirculating bathing system. So what I do is I put about 1 inch to 2 inches of water in the tub, and I'm just filling it up with fresh water right now. I've got my drains are both closed off, and now I'm going to put the coat handler. I'm using a 15-to-1 shampoo. And depending on your shampoo, I've been doing it long enough where I don't use a mixing bottle. I know about how much shampoo it takes to do certain breeds and certain coat types. So once I put the shampoo in, I'm just gonna turn my bathing system on, and it basically has a little hose that runs to an air pump, or just a little foot pump, and I'm just step on that, and that creates the pressure that comes through the machine to actually get my Bathing Beauty going. So now that I've got my shampoo mixed up with my water, I'm going to put Millie in the tub. I'm going to turn my bathing system on, and you can see I just want to make sure what this system does is it really does a really good job of getting that shampoo massaged down into the coat, and it really penetrates. I could see that I need a little bit more, so I just add a little bit more to it, so just wasn't getting the suds that I wanted. But this will penetrate through that thick coat. And when you put your hands on her coat, she's got a really thick coat, and it's, you know, it's hard to brush, it's hard to get down to the skin, and you want to make sure you get that skin clean from the actual hair shaft all the way out. A lot of these thick coated breeds, if you don't get all the way down to the skin and you go to dry them, they'll just be a mess by the time you're finished. So